Good morning. I hope you've all had a brilliant week and that you're going to have a great weekend. So, last week we looked at stress and why it's bad for you, what happens in your body when you're stressed. And this week we're going to look at what we can do to make sure that stress is not harmful to your body, because unfortunately stress is everywhere. It's unavoidable. Even when you're crossing the road or sitting in a draft or getting really excited, your body interprets that as stress. So it is unavoidable, but what we can avoid is setting our bodies into the stress response, which we looked at last week. So if you're interested in that, look at last week's video at what happens in our body when we're stressed and why it's bad for us. So moving on from that, basically, there are good types of stress and there are bad types of stress. The quality and the strength of your system is what will kind of make the differentiation between good stress and bad stress for you personally. If you can control the stress and handle the stress, it's not going to harm you. If you're feeling overwhelmed by it, then it's going to be damaging. But the strength of your system, mental and nutritional system, your digestive system, will really, really help and have play a big factor in whether you're able to fight it. So whether you know it or not, we've all developed coping mechanisms for stress because we encounter it so often. Negative ones are any sort of like excessive behaviour. So you might hear this and be like, oh, I didn't think I was stressed, but actually I do that a lot. Maybe I should think about this. So any excessive behaviour, so like excessive sleeping, excessive eating, excessive watching television, excessive spending. I know some friends who do that. So any of that kind of behaviour, or like emotional outbursts, that's a way of coping with stress. So bear that in mind. And those are quite negative things. Like, we don't want to be spending all our money or eating all the food, or like driving people away because we're having these outbursts and we're stressed. The good thing is we can teach ourselves to have positive coping behaviours and like replace the negative ones with positive ones. And this is going to be the focus of today's little video, because I do think we can minimise stress in our lives and we can minimise our reaction to it. So basically, things to be aware of is sleep. For me personally, sleep is like the hinge of it all. If I have good sleep, I'm so much better able to then exercise. I'm so much better able to prepare my meals and like make healthy choices in food. I'm so much more able to deal with everyday situations, like upsetting situations sometimes, or situations which might normally make me angry. If I'm well rested, I can handle it so much better. So sleep is really imperative, and it is supposed to be between 7 to 8 hours. I know some people supposedly can handle less, but I mean, it's what's good for you, but I would recommend 7 to 8 hours if you can. And obviously the whole make sure you've not got your screens on before you go to bed, etc. So you can just try and have really good restful sleep. So that's one of them. I've just got my notes back there. Oh, this one's a really good one. In meditating, we are able to stop the stress response in its tracks. So if you start feeling yourself getting stressed, you can just try and sort of take yourself away to the bathroom or something, sit there for even just a minute and just try and meditate. I don't really know how to meditate yet, but I kind of feel like for me that's just breathing deeply, trying to just stop thinking about the issue just for a minute, and just sort of have time just to focus on my breath. So that's actually been proven to stop the stress response from happening. So meditation, get into that. Also, if you're not into meditation, you don't want to, just diaphragmatic breathing is really helpful. So that's breathing from your diaphragm, basically. So really big in breaths that expand your tummy, and then pushing it all out, but being really slow over that and really thinking about it. That can actually be really beneficial. Regular exercise is a really good one. I definitely try and do something at least every day, even if it's just a walk or 10-15 minutes of yoga, and it only has to be a walk or 10-15 minutes of yoga. It doesn't have to be anything more intense. You don't have to go jogging, you don't have to go to a gym class. Just try and make sure you move your body, preferably get outside, because that's been proven to really help people with stress, just connecting with nature. And actually exercise has been proven to help people deal better with stressful situations. It's actually been proven. So brilliant. What's not to love about that? And in terms of diet, things that are really important are avoiding refined carbs, which is really sad, and I understand that because I also love white rice and pasta every now and then. But basically, your body will eat sugar as though it's will eat sugar, and then that will put your body under stress. So, sorry, I said that wrong. When your body eats refined carbs, it gets digested immediately as refined sugar. That sets off your insulin. Because your blood sugar's risen really, really high, your insulin has to step in and be like, no, this is not good. We've got to like drop the blood sugar. But your blood sugar actually needs to stay in like a really narrow band. So when the insulin comes in, it like drops it below that band, and that is deemed as a high stress situation for your body. So more stress hormones kick in to kind of like try and raise your blood sugar level, and then like all of a sudden your body's completely out of whack. And if you're stressed, that's your body's primary thing to look after, as we looked at. So if you had sugar, that's then going to be your body's primary thing to focus on, rather than like digesting that other food or like resting or etc. So it's really important to try and avoid refined carbs, at least if you're in a stressful situation or in a stressful time of your life. Avoid them. Mindful eating, this one sounds maybe a bit hippie, but just being really present with your food, I think actually makes a really big difference. And it sort of like involves things of like making your food from scratch, if you can, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You can throw a sweet potato in the oven and then like mix some chickpeas in with like a bit of coconut milk and some spices, and you've got a delicious, nutritious meal. So mindful eating, just like sitting, having actual meal times, think about what you're eating, chewing, tasting, rather than sitting at your desk and wolfing it down. That's really beneficial to digestion and helping you relax and calm down, rather than like eating on the go. That's just not good for you, and you're not going to digest it very well. Obviously, try and eat a healthy diet anyway. So like whole foods, whole grains, basically try and avoid processed food, because processed food will have additives in them. They just will. Or well, a very like some very rare things won't, but they're a bit more expensive and they're quite hard to come by. You probably would only find them at your health food shops or your Whole Foods. So most processed food that you find in supermarkets have additives, whether they're preservatives or like some numbers or whatever, and that's not food. So your body, you eat it and your body does not recognize it as food, so it doesn't know what to do with it. We haven't been raised to sort of like eat these things, so that kind of like sets your body out of whack as well. And therein comes the organic food argument, which is really difficult to do, and organic food is not very easily available. There's not very much of it in the supermarkets, and also it is a bit more expensive. So I understand that not being a viable option for people. If you can buy some things organic, brilliant, because they won't have the pesticides, they won't have the chemicals that will interrupt your digestion and potentially block your neurotransmitters. So yeah, if you can. Otherwise, it's still good just to try and avoid all processed food. So that involves a lot of meal prep. Make sure you set some time aside on your Sunday or even on a Monday night to like prep a whole bunch of food for the rest of the week. Sometimes I get up early and like I cook a pan of quinoa and like saute some vegetables while I'm having my breakfast for my lunch that day. I rarely buy it out and that kind of thing. And it also saves money, and I enjoy it. I enjoy cooking, and I know then what I've put into it. So those are some tips. I hope they've been helpful. Yeah, the main thing just to remember is stress is unavoidable in our modern day lives, but we can control how we respond to them. And by making sure that we live, a good, like healthy life most of the time, we're much more able to handle stressful situations when they come along, or stressful times in our life. So let me know what you guys think. If you have any other stress busting tips, I'd love to hear, because I'm always on the lookout for that. I'll see you next week.